Now in its 9th year, this is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Let's sing. Hey, everybody. I'm Alex, and this is the Ramble, and we go until midnight tonight. Well, after a big new year, there she is, ladies and gentlemen. Her nibs. I don't know why. Remember that her nib's Miss Georgia Gibbs, and I could never figure out what a nib was.
I don't know what. Now I always thought it was associated with George Burns, but no.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah, just a perception because I heard you use it, and I hear occasional references to it.
Yeah.
Nib.
Her nib's Lori Thompson, ladies and gentlemen, who was my aide de camp in a little radio expedition in San Francisco, which is, how many years ago was that now?
I think it was 86 when we first became acquainted, first started doing the morning show. I remember the meeting we had.
Yeah.
And so 86, and your hiatuses, I was like, okay, how long was that section? How long was this section?
Yeah.
But so I would say total, at least 14 years.
14 years, yeah. So that's how many years ago?
I always think of the end as 97-ish. That's when CBS bought Live 105.
Yeah, but so that's 26 years ago?
Lots. Yeah, I've lost count.
But then you add the beginning of it, and it's like 36 or 40 years ago.
Yeah. So we go back.
So isn't it time we started to forget it?
Oh, but I never want to forget it. It was just fun going, because you were different than any radio guy I ever worked with, or radio person I ever worked with.
How was I different? You
were real. You just talked, and that sounds so trite, but you talked about things that people actually talk about. You did you were doing a Seinfeld before Seinfeld did, like with topics like that seemed taboo to radio before.
Yeah.
And you would just take them on, which I thought was great because that's how people talk when they're just hanging out with their friends, and it just seemed more genuine to me.
Well, my problem was I loved radio so much that I hated radio.
Explain, please.
In other words, I loved it so much that when I saw it being done in a rather, how could we call it, slipshod manner, I couldn't stand that.
Yeah, that's troubling. When I listen to a podcast and people have mistaken a podcast for just a couple fellas sitting around shooting the breeze, talking about nothing, talking about chicks, don't have.
Oh, by the way, they have to. All these podcasts have to show their microphone, which I don't do because I hide it. See it? There it is.
Yeah. Why do they?
But I hide it. I don't want the microphone to be seen. This is magic,
Exactly. And they have, because I'm in broadcasting, and so the microphone as a visual, I guess, they think it enhances their craft.
But anyways, and they all have these big, giant microphones with the big stands, They're all sitting there with the microphones, and that's a pod. No, hide the goddamn microphones,
Yeah, come on.
For years, TV stations, did everything they could to hide the microphones. Every now and then it would drop into the frame and you go, oh, there's the microphone.
I know, oh, big, somebody's going to lose their game.
Or a little lavalier you put here that was almost the same color as your shirt, so nobody knows that there's a microphone.
Yeah.
We have to have a microphone. That's how you hear us. But
it's magic.
But anyway, so that's what bothers me about podcasts. But what bothered me about broadcasting primarily was how they sucked on the teat of their audience. In
His
other
was
words,
like, hey, talking down to people. all the
hey, good morning. How are you? Glad to have you here. Well,
time.
mine was, hi, good morning. You're here again?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I just didn't believe that you had to kiss the audience ass in order to get them to listen to you, and that was demeaning to them, that you
Yes,
felt
that's
you
what
had to be that way.
you taught me. Never talk down to people, never talk down to the audience because it's obnoxious first and it's just pretentious. Uh, And so to be more honest with the audience, show them your, I don't know, show them your frailties, tell them about your life, which is not always going to be, hey, you're really great, but that you didn't have that false bravado,
I mean,
which
what I always hated about radio also was when I got more and more power,
Mhm.
I wielded it, but not against you or against the people who worked with me. I did it against the general manager and the program director.
Right. Ruffled a few feathers you did.
Well,
Yeah.
I go in there and it's basically like, really? You want to get mad at the cow that's giving you the milk?
Right. But that's what I liked about working with you. It was just, and plus it was real. It was genuine. It was what people are talking about, not a sanitized version.
I
With
think, yeah, I think that was part of it. I think the other part of it was just anti everything in radio. I mean, I was going back to an old model. Everybody said, "Oh, you're so original, and the show is so different," and blah. I said, "No, it all goes back to the radio I listened to when I was growing up in the mid '40s. I
and
had a radio and I listened to these shows, and they had an audience, and they had music, and they had all kinds of things, and so that's why I brought back the studio audience.
right, and we had a live band when we would do the live broadcast once a month or something,
Yeah.
and those were so great because you took
Oh,
those old
when we did
those
the Christmas shows, the
oh my
Supper with
gosh,
Schwartzman programs, we
yeah.
had a full orchestra.
Yes. And that's you brought the elements of entertainment that are timeless
Yeah.
with us, with
Yeah.
you.
So anyway, everything I did was based on the model I grew up with, and the radio that had long since disappeared.
And information compellingly and entertainingly delivered is
There,
what
there
you
was
did.
there was another level to it, though. My favorite disc jockey when I was growing up. I hate using the word disc jockey, but he used it, so I'll use it. Because I hate disc jockey. That's kind of like, oh, you work here at this office, you're a desk jockey?
Yeah,
And
right.
then they'd be upset. How can you call me that? Well, don't call me a disc jockey.
Right, because there were so many hacks out there who were
Yeah.
just junk.
Don't call me a disc jockey.
Yeah.
But anyway, I kind of had this this whole thing where I really railed against anything that was done like you were supposed to do it now. I hated the fact that the radio I loved was replaced by this model
Yeah.
that just seemed to be everywhere. I mean, every station did it. You didn't have an audience, and you didn't try to entertain. I think that's the biggest
That's
problem.
it. That's it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. I mean, a
you
disc.
want to, when you're hanging out with your friends, you're hanging out and you want to entertain each other and you want to have a blast, and that's what you brought to the radio that I hadn't worked with before, and so that to me that was wonderful.
Yeah. So I mean, but anyway, what I was saying is, you get this power at a radio station, and you can start wielding it. I mean, if they gripe out, well, why did you do that this morning? You go, hey, I'm the cow, okay?
Yeah.
Just milk me and let's go.
Right. Otherwise, back off.
Well, I found out, what was it, from Chuck or somebody, how much money I made for that radio station a year. And I didn't realize it. He knew the number. I can't remember what it is now, but it was like quite substantial.
Right.
I mean, for those days, it was $4 or $5 million a year.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that. I mean, if I realized that, I would have asked for more.
Well, yeah, because I think the rumor is, now this is the anecdotal that's been passed down, was that Joe Field, who I always really liked, and his son, David, runs it now. But
Yeah.
he supposedly, he was a lawyer. He was an attorney by trade, and he had a case involving an FM radio station. And he thought, in a visionary way, this is going to take off, and this will be the standard. So he bought the station that became Live 105. It was Hot Hits. Only I don't think it was Hot Hits when he purchased it, but it was something.
Well, he went out and got a consultant.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
and the consultant said, "Hey, why don't you become Hot Hits Kits? Because I've got Hot Hits Baltimore, and I've got Hot Hits this, and so you become Hot Hits." Well, I mean, that was ridiculous. It's just, when I went over and it was Hot Hits Kits, I went, ugh.
But you can't just change a radio station overnight if you want to retain listenership.
Well, here's the thing. Maybe most people, if you're listening to us and you were in San Francisco and you were listening to us at the time, okay, here's something you didn't know. When we went to Modern Rock, the guy who owned the radio station didn't know we did it.
Really?
He didn't know it.
Under the table.
They said to him, "We're changing the name of the station. We're going to Modern Rock," and he didn't know the difference. He wasn't a music guy. He just owned radio stations and wanted to make money out of them.
Yeah, investment.
So they completely changed the format without him knowing it. And it wasn't until he came to San Francisco once and he turned on the radio station and he said, "What the hell is this?"
What did you do?
And he went to the radio station and he sat down with our general manager, who at the time was Ed Cramp.
Mm-hmm. He did, Ed.
And he said, "You behind my back changed the format of this radio station." And then he paused and he said, "But apparently it's working."
Change your
and
thing.
he said, "If it wasn't working, you'd be out of here."
Yeah. But he made a gamble, and to Ed's credit, it worked.
But don't try to do that sneaky thing on me ever again.
Yeah. Well, you had a resource like Steve Masters, who was so into music. When he would go on vacation, like in Europe or Bangkok, he would bring home suitcases full of records because he was so into music and the styles and the new music that was being done out there that nobody played.
Yeah.
And that it worked.
So we changed the name of the format to Modern Bangkok. So, by the way, can you hear drilling going on outside?
I cannot. Why did a little Sato dentist open next to you?
No, what happened is they're tearing up the courtyard.
Oh, you mentioned your beautiful courtyard, but it's going to be restored to its 1920s.
No. They're just trying to keep it from leaking into the basement. So
that would be nice.
They're going into. We have these 4 quadrants of dirt and whatever was in there, some plants and stuff, and they've dug them all up and are putting in this membrane. Okay.
Insane in the membrane.
And then they fill it back with the dirt that they took out, which is, the dirt. It's been there since the 1900. Okay. That dirt.
Not a lot of nitrogen.
Been there since 1900. I think maybe it's time to just replace it with new dirt.
Yeah.
New healthy dirt.
Well, it's not going to be good for corn or soybeans.
And they're doing this thing where they're taking the dirt out and they're putting it in plastic bags, which are piled up all over the courtyard. And then when they have to fill up the membrane, they fill it with the old dirt, the 1900 dirt.
Yeah, one would think that you would use, because I would think that new dirt is just more readily available too. I mean, you go to.
I don't think it's that expensive. I think you're probably paying more in plastic bags than you are,
Get somebody to drive a semi back to Illinois, load it up. We'll sell you dirt.
You can buy. I'm sure you can buy dirt, and it's probably very cheap.
Home Depot, Lowe's, yeah, I'm sure you could.
Yeah,
not much market for dirt, but there's a bigger market than you think with construction.
I'm glad people can't hear the noise then, because it's rather loud today.
Well, construction I can kind of forgive.
Yeah.
Like if I'm staying at a hotel and there's construction going on, it's like, well, they can't really help that.
Yeah.
I wish I had stayed here,
Yeah.
and I'll do my research better next time. But yeah, I had that happen in Nashville. I was there for a week, and they forgot to mention that they were launching this major construction project. And I had to work, I think I was there to do a test work thing, a test stint. And it was
They bring you in for a week and you work, and then they decide whether they want you or not.
right. And it was, so I'd get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and they weren't working then, but they were at 3 p.m. when I was trying to sleep.
Let me tell you something about going in for those, doing a week, and they decide
Yeah.
whether they want you or not.
Right.
Who was it? Camel,
Yeah.
brought me in to do a week for exactly that reason. And I described that week as a way of understanding what it was I did. Where on Monday, after the show, they're scratching their heads going, what the hell was that?
What in the world?
Tuesday, they're going, I think I was right yesterday. What the hell was that? On Wednesday, they go, well, that was pretty good. That wasn't bad.
Yeah. It's working.
Thursday, they went, wow, that was terrific. And by Friday, they offered me the job.
Yeah,
Okay.
because people forget you were at KMEL before you came to.
But what I had usually said to people was, they said, we want to bring you in for a day to see how you do. And I go, no, you got to bring me in for a week. You'll never understand me in a day.
Exactly. It's just the whole tone and everything. It takes a little getting used to because it's not like other things you've heard
And
of.
that's really, because you're right. What was the term I used to use? I don't remember things that well, but I said the hardest thing to sell is something nobody's done before. Because all that people understand is what's already happened.
Yeah.
So if you do a radio show and you sound like what's already happened and been successful, God, you're great. You're terrific.
Yeah, that's like when TV shows are pitched. They describe them as, All in the Family meets Family Feud.
They always compare it one thing to another. Yeah.
Kind of a game show, kind of a.
It's all in the Family meets Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yeah. I just wanted to do a show called Creature from the Black Saloon, and you could film it at a bar.
Yeah.
And people come in and hang out at your speakeasy for a segment, 15 here, 15 there, and wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah, because it's a combination between Creature of the Black Lagoon and Cheers.
Yeah, that's it. Perfect. You learn the art of the pitch, the Hollywood pitch.
Yeah. But anyway, so what I was saying is that, I just never liked to do things the way they were doing them then. I like the old radio, and I said, and the only thing I had in common with the old radio was the desire to entertain. And that was it.
Yeah.
You say to yourself, what can I do today that's different? And so, and we never obviously, part of the show was I was lazy. People would say to me, what are you going to do on tomorrow's show? And I go,
let's see your show notes.
Well, let's see what happens. I believed in an organic show in which you went on at 6 o'clock in the morning and you went, hi, everybody, it's Alex. And who we got on the show today? And they'd throw me a list of the people who was on the show. And we would then ad-lib it through the whole thing. And it was organic. It was, and that's when you say natural, that's what was natural about it. Was it purely organic? But I want to ask you now. See, when I got hired at Live 105, they said to me, we have a woman in the morning who does the news. We'd hate to let her go. Would you want to test her on your show and see if you like her? And I said, no, just have her do the show. I said, I don't want to fire anybody because I'm coming in. So,
which was a gracious move.
Well, it wasn't
easier.
so much gracious as I really didn't care, because my idea was whatever I needed, I would mold you into.
Right, which I felt that's why I was like a sponge, just absorbing everything that you were doing and learning from
Well,
you.
I think the hardest thing maybe I had to do, and I don't know, you'd have to answer this, is to get you to understand that you didn't have to worry about a lot of things that you used to worry about.
Yeah, and that was an ease or relief because I needed all kinds of relief at the time. I'm going to like essentially from my home 2,000 miles away, didn't really know anybody there, and that's your first thought. Am I going to get fired today? Am I going to get
Oh,
do I
no, that's
take
my. Listen, I've never felt secure in the radio business. Never,
Yeah.
not for 1 minute. I
Well,
realized that I was one questionable interview or one a questionable joke away from getting fired.
yeah, and it's gotten so much more pronounced in this, like Claudine Gay at Harvard.
Yeah.
You know, she wrote an editorial in the New York Times on January 3rd, explaining it from her point of view. And it's
Well, how could they get rid of her? She was black and gay.
and a woman. Yeah,
No, she wasn't homosexual. She was. Her name is Gay.
yeah, but
That's. Wait a minute. I'm not one joke away from being fired on this show.
no, you can relax now.
Yeah.
You can say what's on your mind.
But no, I never. I don't think I ever had a secure moment in radio. I really
yeah,
didn't.
well,
Because
you and I both talked about how we thought about getting into acting, but it was like there's so little security in that.
well,
And
well, I wanted to be an actor. Yeah, that
Same
was.
here.
I got into radio figuring if I do this, somebody will say, "Come act." Okay.
Oh, okay.
And that
Yeah,
it never happened. Never
Well,
happened.
I just thought that if I do that, there's a little more security, and then maybe I can find something else. I can learn what's going on in the market in voiceovers or something I always wanted to do. And yeah, you have to. Radio offers you a little bit more security than being.
Well, you and I were this close to being characters in A Bug's Life.
That's what you said.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that would have been fun. That would have been a blast. Because now I watch. There's a good movie too, with Tig Navarro about the voiceover industry,
Yeah.
and it's very fun. You can tell. It's
Well,
written
they
by-
actually had two characters they had created that were based on you and I.
That would be so fun.
Yeah.
'Cause
I
it-
mean, it was a
it's-
small part, but
Yeah.
and they called me at like 10 o'clock in the morning when I got off and said, "Are you and Lori available today?" And I said, "For what?" And they said, Pixar called. And I said, "For what?" And they said, "Well, we've written two parts based on you guys, and we'd like you to do the voices. So what time can you meet us?" I said, "Well," and I think I asked you, and I said, we can meet there about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, because we had to go all the way. I think it was in the East Bay in those days. And I said, but we can do it. She said, "Well, let me get back to you in a couple hours, and we'll solidify it." So okay, fine. So I don't hear from them until about 1, and then they call me, and they go, "Oh, well, we just had a meeting, and we decided we're not going to use the characters."
Yeah.
So
It was too real.
yeah, we changed the script. So
And that's how acting would have been every day. You're here.
Yeah.
You're high as in the morning. You're just so jazzed because you're up for this.
well,
big
no, but you
part.
got a job. It
Yeah.
could be two lines in a movie, but you got a job. You got work.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the thing that somebody told me once, and it was kind of sad to hear it, and I can't remember who it was, who said to me that every day, every movie they ever did, the last day you sign out. Okay.
Oh, I didn't know this.
Yeah,
I believe a lot of
yeah,
people
and every
a lot
time
of
he said I signed out, I didn't know that wouldn't be my last day acting.
See, that would be freaking. The head trips that your mind could put.
Yeah.
No, could put on a situation.
And,
would be,
and there was more things like that. I mean, Patrick Stewart, I had him on the show here in New York at Sirius XM. And after he left, I said, by the way, I said, "Thank you so much." And he said, "Anytime you're in town, Come on by and we'll talk to you. And he said, well, I'll do that if I still have a career. I mean, he always felt that this job was the last job he was ever going to have. And
Yeah.
Patrick Stewart.
I know, man. It just goes to all levels of performance and acclaim.
Yeah. So anyway, all I got to say is you take a guy like me who has no self-esteem whatsoever, and I went into a business that spends every day trying to reinforce that notion.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly.
Yeah.
I know self-esteem is good. I'm finally building one, just
By
to
the
get
time
me
I have
through-
enough self-esteem, I'll be dead. Anyway,
Yeah.
hey, we're running out of time here.
Well,
Wonderful
I'm enjoy-
talking to the great Lori Thompson, and we shall do it again next week. How's that?
That sounds like peachy.
Bye-bye.
So try. Bye.
Now in its 9th year, this is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Yeah, I love Lori. I love having her on, and she'll be on again next week. And, it was funny. I was listening to part of it, and I suddenly realized, I get off on tangents, and then I don't pick up where I left off. But what I was saying is that my favorite disc jockey as I was growing up, and I call him a disc jockey because that's what he called himself, and then I went off on all kinds of tangents and never came back to who the guy was. And it was Don Sherwood in San Francisco. And he had called himself the world's greatest disc jockey because I think he thought the term disc jockey was silly as well. But anyway, so that's our story for today. Let me see here. Let me just get my stuff set up here because I didn't set that up. Okay, now we're set up. And nobody's calling except for 2 people. Certainly people who are worth it. They're very, very good people. They are, in fact, Jeff and Charlie Wallace, a world famous couple, Jeff and Charlie Wallace. Hello, Charlie. And Jeff is still trying to figure this thing out. Let's see here. Jeff is connecting to audio. Charlie is connecting to audio. What's your problem? Oh, Charlie, you got it now? Huh? I can't hear you. I don't hear you at all.
Sorry.
There we go. Okay, you're fine. Now we just have to wait for Jeff to come barging in here. But he can't figure out how to even set his audio up. Oh well. Somebody go out to his house, will you, and set it up? Oh, God.
That's okay.
Huh?
He'll figure it out.
Yeah, he'll figure it out. Well, now he's got audio. Can you hear us, Jeff?
I think so.
And we don't have. Oh, and you don't have the playback. Everything's fine.
Try it again tomorrow.
No, you're doing fine. You're doing fine. Anyway,
Thank you.
And my camera has been going glitchy on me all day today. I don't know why, but if it glitches, to hell with it. Doesn't matter. This is basically an audio show anyway with pictures. So how you doing, Charlie?
Doing pretty good.
40824.
Yep. 3 months. Total eclipse in Austin.
Solar eclipse.
Oh,
Total solar
total
eclipse.
solar eclipse. Now, will we be able to see it everywhere in the continental United States?
Yes.
No, just a strip going up from Mexico through Austin up to Cleveland.
So we're not going to get it here in New York again.
Cleveland?
Yeah, you might. You might
You'll
get part
probably
of
have
it.
70 or 80%
Yeah,
totality.
you won't get the whole thing. The whole thing is right if you're in the track.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we just said.
California, we're going to get 82% where I'm at.
Okay. And I guess we don't know. I have no figures for New York. So,
No.
Too bad.
yeah. What did you say, Jeff?
I said too bad.
Yeah.
Well,
Did
you
you
know-
notice Did we get a little snow today?
Is that way
You
you're
had a
dressed?
little snow. We didn't have any here.
Just a sprinkle.
Mm.
Oh,
Nothing.
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, it was just like,
We went up, Marjorie went, we got to get out of the apartment. Again, yeah, we got to get out of the apartment. She said, let's go up the corner, up to the Harlem Tavern and have some brunch. Or actually, it's not brunch, it's like lunch dinner. I guess it's called dinner. And
it costs more.
yeah.
Done.
Yeah, and so we, we went up there. We started walking. I said, "Whose idea was this?"
Like I said, it's 48 degrees here. How cold is it in New York?
Well, it was about 42, I think, but there was wind,
yeah.
and it was freezing. And I said, not good, not good. She said, my back's killing me. I said, of course it is, because the weather's cold. So anyway, the two things, I got to tell you, this terrible thing about being our age and being married is that you get into a rut. And here's the rut we get into. I can always figure that when 11:30 in the morning hits, she's going to say, let's make the bed. I can count on it, right?
Good for her.
Well, good for her, yeah, right. And then sometimes she waits till 1 o'clock to do it, and we make the bed, and then about 2:30 she pulls the blankets over herself. Now, what's that? Doesn't make sense to
I
me.
do it at 11, so the bed will be made longer.
But then the other part is, then she says, is there anything to watch today? She'll always ask me that right after we make the bed. And then I have to tell her, no, there's nothing new. And then she keeps asking me throughout the entire day, is there something, what's to watch? I said, I told you, there's nothing. And it's like, she, I guess every week when she was younger, she used to go out like a lot of us and buy TV Guide, right? Used to buy a TV Guide, put it right by there, by your sofa. And then when you wanted to see what was on, you would go through TV Guide. Kids, there was a thing called TV Guide, okay? And now I'm her TV Guide,
You're rich.
Yeah, I mean, she should do enough studying herself that I can say, is there anything for us to watch? And then if I say, well, there's nothing to watch, rather than say, well, why don't we just not turn on the TV set and talk to each other? She says, well, then let's find a movie to watch. Now, I hate watching movies on TV, especially in the afternoon, for one reason. It's 2 hours out of my life. And I maybe don't want to do that. I maybe like a 42-minute TV show or something like that. Mm-hmm. But, a movie is an investment in time.
Especially nowadays when they're 3 and 3.5 hours long.
Oh, yeah. Well, we watched one yesterday. It wasn't that long, but it was called The Creator. Have you seen it at all yet?
I haven't seen it. I've seen ads for it.
Yeah, it's really quite good. Quite good. Yeah. But anyway, so whatever. So you're just in this rut. So I want to get out of this rut. So then I say to her, well, let's go take a walk. I got to get out of here. I haven't been out of here in a week. Let's get out and go take a walk. And she goes, oh, my back's killing me. She got a bad back. And I'm sympathetic to that. But then I never get out because I want to walk with her because I like to hold her hand because I'm afraid of falling. Ever since I took that fall, I'm just afraid of falling. Yeah. So you get into this rut, and it's just sad. Yeah.
Is your jacket on backwards, Jeff? That kind of looks like the liner.
No.
Oh, okay.
Well, wait a minute. Mine's on inside out.
Oh.
See?
Real good. Let's get a zip over here.
You can tell it's cold in our neck of the woods here because look at what he's wearing and look at what I'm wearing, and we're in the house.
Wow.
But then again, I don't turn on the heat in the studio. Never turn on the heat in the studio. And the reason I don't turn on the heat is not for any other reason than it's hot in here already from all the equipment. So, Oh, here comes Ray. Okay, that's nice.
Hey, I saw a movie that you guys might like.
What?
Ferrari.
Ferrari.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Okay. Where'd you go to a theater?
Yes.
Oh my God! What's it like at a theater?
Yeah.
It was a small place. I mean, it was like a multiple place for different movies.
Yeah, multiplex. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was pretty small. And we sat in the back, so to speak. And
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
nice. It's great.
Yeah. So it's all about what's his name? Enzo, was it?
Yeah.
Enzo Ferrari. Yeah.
Yep. How he it was about the racing cars.
Yeah.
That was a big part of it. But also he had practically two wives.
What do you mean practically two wives?
Yeah, one was his real wife,
Yeah.
and the other one was the woman who he really loved. And they both had kids also.
Hmm.
And this kid who was of the not legal wife
Yeah.
Yeah.
is the guy who really runs Ferrari now.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean the son of him?
The son, yeah,
Runs Ferrari.
runs Ferrari.
Wow.
And then, there was all things going on at the same time. Obviously,
Yeah, it was directed by Michael Mann.
he did a great job.
Yeah. I've never
God,
been
he's
that
still
fond of
around?
What?
God, he's still around. I
Yeah.
remember movies from when I was a kid that he directed.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he did Miami Vice, and then he went on to
Right.
doing movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Miami Vice is one. Yeah.
I was never particularly fond of him as a director. You know.
I was never particularly fond of Miami Vice.
Oh, are you kidding me?
I loved it.
It's a great show.
Somebody in every show.
It's a great show. It was a great show, and the reason it was
I
a
have
great
the whole
show
series
is
on
it was
DVD.
the first. It was the first TV show that I can remember in the modern era that tried to shoot it like it was a movie,
Yeah.
and it had a really cinematic look to it, and that's what made it special. And it really changed the whole look of television.
Yeah, especially the fake Ferraris, huh?
What?
Fake.
Yeah, they didn't use a real Ferrari. The Ferraris that he drove around were models, and Ferrari sued them, saying that you can't get a non-licensed product. You know, but they had
You got $100 million budget. You can't go out and buy or even rent a couple of Ferraris.
No way.
that
57.
during like season through the end of the whatever last season was, he drove
What?
around that white Ferrari with one mirror on it.
What are you talking about? You talking about Miami Vice?
Yeah,
Oh, well, we thought you were still talking about the movie, the Ferrari family
I haven't seen
and the movie.
Yep.
but I'll go watch it because I used to own a Ferrari, so I'll go watch it.
Yeah. Why did you own a Ferrari?
Well, I went car shopping with a friend of mine that had a buyer's thing, and we went to a car thing a lot here, not far away in Hayward, and I didn't find any car I wanted. They had only 1,000 beat up cars, and there was a Ferrari sitting out there that said bid on me, and so I said to my friend, "What do you think a good bid on that?" And he said, "I don't know, bid $5,000 or $6,000. You'll never get it, but you can bid." And I bid, and I got it. It was a 308 GTS, the same
For 5.
look, the same look and color as Magnum PI drove.
Well, wait a minute. To begin with, most Ferraris only came in one color,
Red.
red. There were yellow
Yeah, well-
Ferraris and there were, I think, black Ferraris. But basically, if you walked into a Ferrari showroom, you'd see nothing but red.
That's the color this was.
And and the Ferrari red, if I'm not mistaken, was copywritten or patented by
Rolls-Royce
Ferrari.
does that with their colors,
Huh?
so it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Anyhow, buying the car was the cheap part. You got to take it in for tune-ups all the time. I was driving Fords. I took it in for a minor tune-up, and that was $1,200. And the guy says the major tune-up's coming up in like 1,000 miles or something. It'll be 5,000. I said, but I paid 6,000 for the car.
Mm.
You know, he said, well, it's a fine.
That's how they get you.
Yep.
You know?
So I sold it. I took it to the Ferrari dealership to have it serviced, to have an oil change done. And the guy said, you know, I have a buyer for this. Can I buy this car off you and you get something different? And I'm like, oh yeah, take it from me, Jesus.
Mm.
How
And
much?
they gave me about $25,000. Boom. I
Oh,
took the
good.
cash and had somebody pick me up, and it went.
Wow.
So Alan, I just looked it up. If you have one that's in good shape right now, they're worth 150K.
Yeah.
Get the
Okay.
car.
Boy, that was one of your better deals for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, that
Good
didn't work.
night, Ray. Well, I made 5 times my money, 4 times my money.
Yeah. Well, here you would have made like
Yeah.
it's what
Well,
they
then
call
what that
it's what they
do is hang on to
technically
the
call
car.
in the financial business a fuckload of money.
You should have
Yeah.
hung on to it.
All I would have had to do was hang on to it, huh?
Well, yeah.
You would have had to really keep it up too, which
Yeah.
is
Yeah, get
expensive.
the
It prob-
$5,000.
Yeah,
So-
I
He's never driving it.
bought it on a cop salary, and of course I drove it to the police department the first day. They knew I was looking for a car, but not a Ferrari. And then everybody would give me shit about being on the take and stuff like that.
I was gonna say that. How many cops can afford a Ferrari?
Well, I don't know, but just about everybody in the department wanted to drive it, and I let them. I thought, the hell, you know, I'm not going to keep the
You
damn
must be
thing.
getting paid that
Yeah.
money.
I saw an interview of
Well-
an ex-New York cop who did drive Ferraris to work, and he was on the take.
He's
Ah,
got kickbacks.
And that's one of the ways they
clocked
found
the
out.
thing at
That's a real red
142
flag.
miles an hour.
Somebody's making it
You
80
clocked
grand.
it at what?
142 miles an hour. So we took it on the freeway one night, and we got one of the
Jeez.
guys with the radar gun in the car, and he sat at the other end of the freeway. And when the car went flying by, he clicked the radar gun, and it clocked it at 142.
Don't you love that our cops are out there doing that?
Let me ask you, Ray.
Give it
Ray, let
ticket?
me ask Ray something because I just noticed it.
Crazy.
Either he's become a priest or something went wrong with his neck.
I believe the priest.
It's a special order of priests with giant collars.
Oh, you got a bad neck, Ray? What happened?
Swimming.
Oh, really?
I pulled a
Good
muscle in my neck swimming. That's how
Okay.
old I'm getting.
Everybody goes swimming for a very important reason. You get a lot of exercise and it's low
It's good.
impact.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah.
Mm.
Was the
Just
water
from-
cold?
Run your
Or just
head
like
in.
it turned?
Just from turning and breathing.
No,
Oh,
really?
I don't know. Gotta be paid.
Oh, I thought maybe you ran your head into the end of the
No,
pool.
just from turning. I got arthritis in my neck, so
Ooh.
Wow.
Oh, so how
so the
long-
doctor told me I might have to swim with a snorkel.
what?
That sounds so
She said, "Is that a problem?" I said, "Well, it's just like an ego defeat, but other than that,
How would that work exactly? You're turning your head and you got the snorkel in your mouth.
no, you wouldn't turn your head with the snorkel.
With the snorkel, you don't.
You just
go in the
breathe
back.
through the
For a
snorkel.
breath.
You don't have to turn your head
Oh,
anymore.
I see. Okay. Yeah, I get it. Yeah. Yeah.
Hey Jeff, you changed the color of your shirt.
Hey, next I'll take that one off.
Yeah. No.
Sorry, it just looked like.
Yeah,
it
you
was
gotta
inside
dress in
out.
layers.
Yeah.
It
Oh,
was a
well.
strip tease, Jeff.
Yeah.
Pretty fancy.
So, whatever. So,
Hey, I really enjoyed your interview with Lori tonight.
yeah. They're always
really-
good.
really good.
They're always good.
Yeah, she's great. She has such good energy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And we think,
Reminded me when she was on the radio with you. It was really.
well, we
so
think
great.
the world of each other, and it's always a pleasure talking to her.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
you ought to get her on your podcast. Maybe you'll have more than 7 people listening.
Maybe I'll get one more. She'll listen. I'll have 8.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, she's
I listen to it sometimes.
I get about 20 regular people, I think, from what I can tell.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's 19 more than I have. So, don't feel bad.
I don't think so.
I mean, I'd actually triple my audience if I didn't invite people to call. So
And
Well,
just
then what are we
bottom
doing
line.
here?
yeah, exactly. If you weren't here, you'd be listening to the show, right?
Oh, right, yeah.
But now you're not listening to the show. What? I wonder what the numbers on the audio are. In fact, I got something interesting for you. But wait a minute. Hold on a second. Let's see.
That's the
here.
thing, though. It's like it's hard for me to tell what the tune. Like I can't tell what my tune-in or numbers are. They might be good. I don't know.
Well,
Are
I
they
have.
sending you money?
I have
They're
7
not
people
good then.
listening to
Oh.
the audio. Okay, so that's not great.
How are you able to tell?
Because I have a thing here I can go to. But
Oh.
wait a
It's
minute,
the
hold on. A
statistic.
second.
Got a thing.
I know it's
You got a
just
thing.
it's all
Okay,
different.
so now here is an interesting statistic. I have this server I put the audio out on.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And I pay for the service. And so every month they send me a list of the top locations that are listening to me. Try this. Russia, we got 0.13%. You know. And ZZ, what country is ZZ? I have no idea.
In French, ZZ is slang for penis.
Oh, well, thank you.
Anyway,
So maybe it's France.
okay, in the U.S., you ready for this?
I heard of that.
I have 34.27% of the audience is
So
from
what
the
is
United
that?
is
If you take
who's
7
listening
people-
are from the United States. What do you think the number one country is for like 3 or 4 months in a row?
It's not the United States.
Singapore.
No,
England.
Germany. Germany.
Germany.
With
Germany.
with
Germany?
about 65% of my audience listening from Germany.
Holy smoke.
What am I doing that's so German? Is it that I'm Jewish and they all look
I
at
was
me
gonna say.
like,
They sit around
and ribbon.
you know? I mean, well, I just said I'm Jewish and probably I'll lose all my German audience now. That's- But I mean, I can't understand that. I just don't
That caller
understand
is
that.
good on you, Ray. Maybe you'll get some work now.
Yeah, I'll go to all my auditions with
It's
this.
amazing
It'll,
how Alan always changes the subject
He's like me.
because he doesn't really listen to the program.
I heard what you said. You talked about ZZ.
I heard
you
you talking about
Germany.
Michael
I
Mann.
heard what you said.
Yeah, and then you mentioned something about his collar while I was
Oh, we
saying
went back to
something.
the caller.
Yeah, you were talking about something completely different when you mentioned the collar.
Yeah.
I have
Wait till you get to my age.
88% from the U.S. and then after that it's like a bunch of countries at 1%, various amounts of 1%.
Yeah, but you don't have that coveted German audience that I have.
No, I only have 0.84% from Germany. Huh.
You gotta shave your head and complain about your health more, Ray.
Where do you get your statistics from?
Podbean, who is the company that hosts my podcast.
Yeah.
But that's just the audio. I mean, my video is starting to do better than the audio
Yeah,
on YouTube.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, of all the shows I do, the show that gets the best listenership is the Monday show.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah.
well, it's because it's during the day.
No,
Oh.
but I mean during the week.
Oh, really?
You know, it's up there on YouTube, and it's on what do you call it?
Audio.
No, Facebook.
Fun show,
Facebook.
Oh, Facebook. Okay.
Yeah, and between the two of them, it's a rather it's the largest audience I have.
Well, you have a lot of women too.
Huh?
And Facebook is good for live stuff.
Affected.
Instagram's good for live too.
Yeah.
You know what's really good for live is what's the one that all the kids listen to?
Or TikTok or
No, the big one. Shit, I can't think. The Chinese one.
Oh, you mean TikTok?
Is that TikTok?
TikTok.
what was the TikTok?
TikTok live. Yeah.
How do I get on
So it's
TikTok live?
I don't know. You have to have. I think they won't let you go live until you have a certain number of followers or something like that.
Wow.
Oh,
No,
But
I
it
think
can be
anybody can
humongous.
get on TikTok.
No, live.
Oh.
Yeah, live. Yeah.
yeah. Well, I don't know.
Anyway.
I have no idea how you get an audience. Really, I'm being very honest. In the old days,
No.
you just did a good show. That was all you had to do.
No, now you got to do way more than that because there's a zillion good shows.
No, you got to go out and promote like crazy.
I know, yeah.
You know. It's horrible.
There's a lot of crap, and then there's a small number of good shows, but the small number is in the hundreds of thousands.
What do you mean the small number? Is in
Well,
the-
I'm being sarcastic. I mean, there's like literally millions of
there are
garbage
no,
shows.
there
and
are.
then
From what I heard, last number, there are over 30 million podcasts.
yeah.
That
That's
means,
why when I don't feel so bad when I'm in the top 10%.
Well, no, that means that everybody in the world practically is doing a podcast.
Yeah,
You know.
it's crazy. Yeah, when you count YouTube and you count podcasts and all together, yeah, it's probably 30 million.
Yeah, yeah. So, anyway, I wonder how long this podcast fad is going to last. You know.
It'll die
See,
out.
here's what's happened. I always liked anything that democratized broadcasting. In other words, it allowed anybody who wanted to do a broadcast. Because in the past, with radio stations, you had to have hundreds of thousands of dollars to put a transmitter up and build a studio and go on the air. So it wasn't something that was available to everybody. It was available to people who had some money or some backers or whatever. So I always wanted the day to come when we really democratized broadcasting so that anyone who wanted to do broadcasting could do it. And the day has come. And it's terrible. It's horrible. You know? And what it's done is completely obliterated. For instance, radio just doesn't even really exist anymore. People in their cars, they listen to the internet. You know?
The radio's, most of it's horrible.
Oh, well, it's been terrible for years. And then they scratch their head and go, gee, why aren't people listening to us? Well, because you suck. You know? So anyway, and I love radio, and I'll tell you why. I love it over the internet because on the internet, everybody who's listening has to take up a stream. In other words, there has to be a stream going out to them. One person, one stream. Two people, two streams. Three people, three streams. You know, million people, a million streams are being used. With radio, there's one stream and everybody latches onto it.
Yeah.
Well, I find that better than the internet. Plus, if your internet connection goes down, do you ever have your radio connection go down? No.
No.
Never.
You know.
You could get one of those wind-up radios and listen, and you don't even need a battery.
One of those cranky things. Yeah.
Yeah, I used to have one.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It worked great.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, Al.
I'm going to send you a map of actually. I'm sorry to change the subject, but going back to the solar eclipse, I'm going to send you a
Wait a
map.
minute, hold on a second. Let me rewind the program all the way to the beginning.
I've been looking.
Wait a minute, hold on. I can do it. Wait a minute. Hold on a second. I can do it. Yes, Rob. Yes, Rob. Yes, Rob. Yes, Rob. Okay.
All right. Wayne sent us a link that shows where the eclipse is going to be seen best. 100%. And as a matter of fact, New York, the northern part of New York, gets 100%. So you'll get a good.
Oh, yeah, like Buffalo or something. That part.
Yeah, and Buffalo is in the 100%.
But they've always been in the dark up there.
I heard the best view is going to be from Uranus, which hasn't been that way in a long time.
You should see the view from my anus. I mean,
oh God, no.
It looks like the Grand Canyon, right? Okay, enough about that. What were we talking about?
I have no idea what we were talking about.
Said men are from Mars, women are from Venus, and all other genders are from Uranus.
Yeah.
Ain't that the truth?
Oh.
Well,
Oh,
anyway,
my
so
God.
you're gonna send it to me, are you?
Yeah, I will. I'll email you the link.
Oh, okay.
It's really neat because it shows you where you are, wherever you are in the country, how long it's going to last, and what percentage of coverage you're going to get from it. And, whether it's going to be.
Is it going to be?
Not to change the subject, but how about those New York Nets?
What about the Nets?
Never mind.
Yeah, didn't work this time, Ray.
Wait a minute. Let's move the show forward.
Fool, Ray.
Well,
I'm sorry, it's my neck. It's cutting off the blood flow to my brain.
yeah, apparently. Anyway, so that will we? Is it going to? Well, actually, would it have to be during the day? Yeah, it would have to. No, it could be during the night. Wait, is it?
That's a lunar eclipse if you see an eclipse.
This is a solar eclipse.
It's a solar eclipse.
Okay.
A total solar eclipse.
Because I saw a complete eclipse in the Mediterranean when Kathleen and I went to the south of France, and we were in right outside of Monaco, and there was supposed to be a eclipse that night, and sure enough, I videotaped it, as a matter of fact, and it was something.
We had a solar eclipse while Trump was in office.
I hope he stares at it again.
He looked
Oh, yeah,
at it
there's
without got glasses or anything on. Yeah.
Yeah, his whole family's on the veranda of the White House looking at the sky in the cameras. Caught him. Everybody's got dark sunglasses on except him. He's looking at it with his
Yeah.
Oh, he's an alpha
bare
male.
eyes.
Yeah. Well,
He's an alpha.
When are we not going to have to ever talk about Trump again?
Never.
Can we just jail him tomorrow just to keep him out of the way?
He's gonna live till he's 100.
No, God.
Speaking of that,
Ray, it was a good day today until you.
Hey, the guy, he's pretty healthy.
he's a big blob.
I know, but it doesn't seem like he has any diseases or anything.
No, it doesn't seem, because that's the way it's reported, but he pays people off to report it that way.
No.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so
You're going to tell me a guy with that kind of weight on him doesn't have some kind of either cardiac problems or whatever?
he must have
He got
something.
heavy, yeah.
But he only weighs 210 pounds or something.
Yeah,
Remember they showed
right,
him in the-
right.
Come on.
He's the same weight as me.
Yeah.
I still can't believe that people would vote for him still. It's like, it's just. he's
You're not
like a
gonna vote for him?
Democracy, really. I really think.
20 years from now, he'll be running for the school district where he lives because nobody else will hire him, will vote for him.
Yeah. Listen, guys, we were talking last night about the 14th Amendment, and people were saying about how you shouldn't keep him off the ballot because he hadn't been convicted of anything. Jefferson Davis, the president of the Confederacy, was never prosecuted or convicted of anything, but he was banned from holding office for life.
There you go.
Yep, because of
The
the
14th Amendment doesn't care whether.
So, in other words, what you're saying is with Trump, even dog catcher is out.
Any elected office,
Any
you
public
cannot
office.
hold any elected position.
Well, that could well be the case, but what do you say to those people who argue that law was actually written right after the Civil War to attend the question of whether those people could run for public office or not, and so that law was put into effect in order to prevent them from doing so. But maybe it wasn't meant to apply to this current situation. I'm only saying what other people say, because I have no original ideas
Because
myself.
once somebody has already broken his promise to uphold the Constitution, you can't let him get back in the office because now he knows how to do it without getting caught.
Ah.
Yep.
I mean, it says it's pretty clear in there.
Yeah, the 14th Amendment, they didn't reverse it, and it doesn't say he has to be convicted.
Well, we
It's
should
pretty
be
damn
coming,
clear.
Shouldn't we be coming up on a decision by the Supreme Court any day now?
God, I hope so.
They do not want to get involved. Are
They
they
don't.
even? Have they even officially taken it up yet?
Nope.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Oh, they did?
It's before them. Yeah.
Oh, okay. They're going to have to do something.
I think somebody said they had to do it by the 5th of January, which is
That's
tomorrow.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Wow.
No.
But who
The
knows?
problem is the primaries are starting up in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So yeah, they got to do it before that.
Yeah.
If they say that it's legit, probably every blue state will take him off the ballot.
You know, I've been there during political season, but I can't understand why everybody considers Iowa so important.
Me either.
It's
Is it because it's at the beginning?
no, but it's not. It's not a primary.
Oh, it's a caucus.
It's a caucus.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very interesting to watch, and it's a nice thing to see, and it lets people to be able to rally around certain people and so on. But I never could see why everybody makes a big deal. Oh, we're going now up to see how the caucus is doing, and blah 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 blah. I'm going, I don't know. It isn't that important.
And also New Hampshire, which is one of the podunk places in the country.
No,
They
but
make a big
at
deal out
least
of
that's
New
an election.
But
At
it's
least
the tiniest little state.
well, of course, it's a tiny state.
So why is it such a big deal?
But please don't insult Jeff, because he lives in maybe one of the smallest states around.
Yeah, but nobody cares
And
about
he's next to even a smaller state, Rhode Island.
Rhode Island.
Oh, there's too many people in Connecticut.
not a
Nobody
state.
cares about that.
Yeah.
Connecticut.
You got to have less than 1 million people for anybody to get excited about you.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
I don't know.
I think it might be because since we started having the voting for primaries, there's just a trend like whoever wins Iowa or whoever wins New Hampshire wins the whole thing.
That's not true, though.
Well, that's what they make it seem like.
No, we've had people go in and win Iowa and then turn around and win New Hampshire and then lose everything else.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, then I was just wondering. I thought maybe that's why.
Buttigieg won Iowa and never went anywhere after that.
So it doesn't mean anything.
Well, don't get me started on primaries. I think they're the most useless process we have.
Oh, I agree.
It's
just a big waste of money.
Why did the states suddenly have to pay to hold these primaries? That really what they used to do is it's not embedded in the Constitution to begin with. Okay. And early on, we didn't even have primaries. What did they do? They went and did a thing called a convention. That's what the conventions were about. And they would go to the convention and they would go caucus with each other and they would fight and people would give speeches and fight and it lasted maybe 7 days. And at the end of the 7 days, they would come out with their standard bearer.
Yeah.
Do it that way. Don't cost us a fortune. Like in New York State, how much money do we spend for a caucus? I mean, for a primary.
Yeah.
I just think it's useless. Totally useless.
Well, it's worse here because in Texas, if you don't get a majority, you got to have a runoff. So they have to do 2 elections for the primary.
Yeah. So, I mean, and it costs a lot of money for the states to do this. And the only people that have an advantage out of all of this are the parties who are having the states do their work for them, And so what does the convention become? It becomes a big 4-day commercial on television for that political party, and that's it. But I remember when I was a kid, they used to have the conventions, and they were huge. I mean, if you look at pictures of them. Far bigger than they are
nobody knew
now.
who was going to win ahead of time.
And you in fact, I remember in the newspaper, they used to publish like little ballots and stuff so you could keep track of each of the votes in each of and many times it would go into like 15 votes before they found somebody, and so I just found it. I find it ridiculous, this whole primary situation.
I think I watched a documentary about Truman on Netflix and how he was picked at the convention, the convention.
Yeah.
And boy, what a ruckus that was. Boy, I mean, it was quite.
Oh yeah,
they would fighting and yelling and
yeah. But it was exciting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and he just came out of nowhere, and he became the
What happened?
nominee.
You have a dark horse that would come out and win the primary. Nobody
Yeah.
even win the
Yeah.
The convention. Yeah,
nomination. Nobody even knew about him. They never
Yeah.
heard of him before.
yeah.
Or they would say, "Hey, we're all tied up, and there's no real winner. Why don't we all go for this guy?" And they'd pluck a guy out of nowhere.
I think
And-
that's what Truman was.
Yeah.
Was that what he
There were
was?
like two
No.
big time politicians that were fighting it out, and then all of a sudden,
No, you're wrong.
Oop.
You're wrong.
I mean, maybe I'm remembering wrong.
Because
Yeah.
Truman was the vice president of
Yeah, he was vice
Roosevelt.
president of Roosevelt.
Right, but there was another guy in there who was. I can't. I'm sorry.
In
it's so vague.
in those days, the person who was nominated for president decided who he wanted running for vice president with.
Oh, okay.
Decided on his running mate. Am I right about that, Charlie? I don't think I'm
It
wrong.
still
about
is.
Well, I mean, it still is now. Whoever they pick him now, but
that. Yeah, like where did Sarah Palin come from?
yeah.
You know?
Uranus.
Don't bother mind him, folks. He has a bad neck.
It's just the blood flow.
Hey,
problem.
Kevin, what's up?
Not much. How you doing?
Don't let us bother you.
Is he scratching off lottery tickets? Oh, he looks like he's
No,
Yeah,
no.
what are
having
you doing there?
Internet
Grumpy.
problems and
Huh?
I'm having internet problems and Wi-Fi problems. So
Really?
they
What-
disappear. I
What's
don't know.
what's the internet problem? You look fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I reconfigured my mesh system here, and I think I screwed it up. So I may disappear. I don't know.
Really? Why are people coming out to your house to get you? Because you
No, no. Aliens.
Yeah.
He might end up in Jeff's living room.
Well, at least you're nice and red, which is
I
Yeah,
am
you
red, yeah.
really stand out with those colors.
Well, you know what I do in this place, what I've done, and up until recently, now I do have a couple of mesh systems in here, but
you have that?
I hardwire the whole house.
that's what I did.
Hardwiring never
could.
goes bad, you know.
Yeah, I would if I could, but
We had an electrician come in and do it.
Really, I bought a staple gun. Yeah.
Nice to develop.
Well, I live in an Eichler where there's no place to put the wires.
Oh, really?
no roof. No.
There's no basement. That's
There's
for
no
damn-
basement. There's no attic. There's no space between the walls and the. So I could have put it all on the outside, but it would have looked like shit.
Yeah.
If you hang on to that house for another 30 years, it's probably going to double in value, right?
When I'm 92,
And that's like the Ferrari thing.
Well, haven't they gone up in worth because they're you own?
oh God, yeah. I mean, it's like 3.4 million, I think.
You should explain to the audience who doesn't know who Eichler was.
I don't want them to know what.
No.
Who Eichler was and why Eichler homes are so special.
Well, he was an architect designer after the Second World War who built a gazillion houses here in California, in San Francisco Bay Area, in Los Angeles that are unique in that they have a lot of light and high windows that go from ceiling to floor, and they were very modern.
Every
very
house
sharp.
pretty much looked like the one next door to it, though.
No, there's a bunch of
Or
different
they held the plans up to the light and just turned them around and stuff. You know.
No, I mean there's some that have like piazza things in them. We don't have that. Some have flat roofs, some don't. Ours does not have a flat roof. It's a cathedral type
But no
ceiling.
attic, huh? Hmm.
Nope. So they were built on a slab, and there's no attic. There's no subfloor.
But these were built in tracts. These were tract homes.
They were tract homes, and they were built very quickly. Although there are some that are real high end, and they're larger, and the construction is much nicer and more established. And there's a lot of those in
But
Sunnyvale
this was meant
and
to,
in Marin.
this was really meant to meet the post-war boom. And,
yeah,
and
there were so many young people coming back from the war who wanted to start
homes,
a family
and
buy a house.
these were reasonably priced, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, they were. Yeah.
What's the name of the architect?
Eichler.
Eichler.
Yeah, yeah. And
There's many thousands of them in California.
they've destroyed a lot of them, though, haven't they?
Pardon?
They've destroyed a lot of them, haven't they?
Well, yeah.
Well, they did.
Yeah, the many neighborhoods are trying to prevent that from happening. There's some you can't destroy because there are custom Eichlers and high-end Eichlers that are considered what do you call it? Monuments, you know.
Historical landmarks.
Historical landmarks. This building I'm in is a landmark building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're great. I love it. I mean, I don't love the problems like leaky roofs. We just had to put in. We've done 2 roofs so far since we lived here. Wow. Because the roofs are so either completely flat or almost flat, and so they leak like crazy.
Windows are expensive.
The windows are not standard size, so when we had to redo all the windows, it cost an arm and a leg. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you rich folks that live in the neighborhood you live in, I won't announce where that is, but they can afford stuff like that.
Hey, a friend of mine had one, and it was 2 blocks off of 101.
Oh, really?
Well, there's some in Sunnyvale. There's
Burlingame, yeah.
Oh, Burlingame, yeah. At Burlingame, there's some in Sunnyvale. There's
There's probably more in the Bay Area than any other geographical area.
Maybe. I know there's a lot in LA too.
Yeah,
and
there are
LA's
a
so
lot in
huge, so I'm not sure.
We had a guy here in New York. I mean, I wasn't here at the time, so because I was living in California. That's how I know all about Eichler. But here we had Lefrak, and he built a place called Lefrak City, which were all these homes. Huh? Wait, what do you say?
It's not too far from where I live. Well, it's about 15 minutes.
Are they still?
What are the style?
It was pretty much tract homes, you know.
Yeah.
And not Eichler had an identifiable style. I don't know that Lefrak actually had an identifiable style, but all the houses.
There are other
big apartment building, like really overlooking the Long Island.
Well, no, that was the apartment buildings, but they were tract homes.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
There were at least 2 other builders who copied Eichler.
Yeah.
And there's some of those homes in my neighborhood as well.
Jeff seems.
I used to live in one.
It looks like Jeff knows something about this.
I used to have a house in Connecticut. It was trying to look like Frank Lloyd Wright. I don't know if you ever saw it.
Yes.
What do you mean, old and craggy? No.
No, but
No, he had some
anyway,
cool stuff.
the house was quite unique, and of course, you know, after years, 10 years or whatever, you realize you're talking to a good friend who's a good mechanic who works on fixing houses and this and that, and he goes, you know, I think you ought to get rid of this house now, because some of the fundamental stuff that nobody else can figure out without spending more than it cost the building. Again.
Well, especially Frank Lloyd Wright homes. He doesn't. He wasn't into practicality. It was all the art. Yeah.
No.
Well, I think I don't know if I told the story here. I think I was telling the story to Marjorie the other day, and I may have told it here, that in Marin County, up on the hill, I lived in San Anselmo. There was somebody building what looked like a really weird house. So I drove over there one day, and I saw this guy, and he was building the house himself. And I said, so you're building this house all on your own? He says, yeah, I'm building it from the ground up. I said, boy, it has an unusual look. And he said, it should. See, he says, I'm working with the construction of the Marin County Civic Center.
Oh,
and I got to know Frank Lloyd Wright. And Frank Lloyd Wright knew that I wanted to build a home, so he just wrote these plans out for me.
Yeah.
And he was building a Frank Lloyd Wright home, which now sits, probably to this day, sits in San Anselmo.
So another bunch of homes throughout, especially in the West, are Del Webb.
Oh yeah.
Del Webb built a lot of, like, he built Sun City.
Well, he was another one of those tract home people, you know.
Yep.
But he wasn't a very good one. I don't think his stuff was that terrific. It was just practical.
He he did a lot of Del Webb, where I guess they're rentals and the stuff like that for vacation rentals. He was actually the contractor in history. He was actually the contractor that built the what was the first casino that Bugsy Siegel was involved with.
The Flamingo.
Flamingo. He built that, and when Del Webb found out in person that who Siegel was and stuff, Siegel told him, he said, "Don't worry, we only kill our own."
Yeah, I'm trying to think. If Del Webb did do? I think he may have done the Flamingo, or at least he was the contractor on it. You know.
Yep, big contractor. A lot of housing.
But that thing went way over
Still
budget.
does them, I think.
What? What'd you say?
They still do them, I think, or the company anyway.
The Del Webb company, yes.
Doesn't Del Webb do like what when you buy into the vacation
retirement communities was what it's
Yeah, mostly, that's what we saw.
Probably the biggest one is called Sun City, Arizona. It's somewhere near Tucson.
Yeah, well, there's one in Austin too.
I was just there this last weekend. I was right in Sun City.
How many?
Hundreds of houses.
Yes, Tony.
I did a Google search on Frank Lloyd Wright, and you know who has a documentary on him? Ken Burns.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I'm gonna have to watch this now.
Yeah, no. Frank Lloyd Wright was amazing, I think, as an architect. When you look at the Marin County Civic Center, it is the most unusual building you will ever see, and it lived up to his feeling that you didn't move dirt to make room for your building. You built your building over the earth. In other words, you built it into the earth, so if you had several hills, it conformed to the hills. It was amazing. And the Marin County Civic Center is probably the best example of that. Although his home's like, what's that one with the waterfall going right through the house?
Water, falling water.
Yeah, just magnificent. Just magnificent. Yes.
I have a realtor friend. She's really successful, and she just sold a Frank Lloyd Wright home in Atherton, and I went and did the tour. And he, like you said, the house was built. There are these giant oak trees, and the house was built around the oak trees. I don't know. He must have figured out how big the oak trees were going to get because they didn't wreck the house.
Yeah.
Did you bid on the house?
No, it was totally impractical. The bedrooms were tiny, and they had these little tiny bathrooms that you could barely squeeze through the walls to get into.
Oh, I would have been in Problemville.
But then they had this big room that was so wonderful with a big fireplace on the end. It was incredible.
Great parties.
Well, people today, if they go to office buildings, you may notice that if there's a window, it then seems to be a cathedral window because it seems to go up higher almost than the ceiling. Because there is then a lip put in that doesn't let you see the top of the window, which is probably only a few inches above that lip. And that was a creation of Frank Lloyd Wright, so that you would think that rooms were bigger than they really were, and that the windows were cathedral windows when they really weren't at all.
They went on for infinity.
Yeah, that's the kind of brilliance that he engendered.
The San Jose Center for Performing Arts is a Frank Lloyd Wright building, and it's beautiful. The only problem is he didn't want to put an aisle down the center, and so when you go there, if you have a seat in the middle of this 2,500 person theater, you have to. It's like Bugs Bunny. Excuse me, pardon me. Excuse me, man. Or you got to climb. And so when the Lion King came, they demanded that they took out 2 rows in the middle.
Have you ever sat in there? It's crazy. I went there once years ago with a friend, and I'm like, our seats are like 40 seats over.
Well,
it's horrible.
I found out something the other day. Frank Lloyd Wright built beautiful buildings. They weren't exactly necessarily functional.
No.
And we have one here in New York called the Guggenheim Museum, which is one of the. Somebody said he didn't care about building a museum. He cared about making a monument to Frank Lloyd Wright with that building. And what it is it's an infinite museum in which it goes down in a loop, so that all the pictures on the walls are in this loop. And then there is a banister. There's a wall. I can't call it a wall, but if you back up, you hit a wall that is not a wall. It's a balcony. Okay. And what they were saying in this documentary I was watching is it's totally inefficient, because if you put up a painting, sometimes you want to walk back and look at the painting, and if you walk back enough to see the painting as a whole, you're going to fall over the edge down into the atrium. So that was Frank Lloyd Wright. He didn't care about the functionality of a building. He cared about how it looked.
Right.
So he built in Los Angeles, I had to look it up, but in 1917, the Hollyhock House. And it's in Los Angeles. It's one of the most famous houses that he built in California, I guess.
Yeah. But I mean, he was, but he was brilliant. He was brilliant. The architecture. I mean, if you ever seen, I went into the Guggenheim once a few years back. Never been inside, and it's just, isn't it right, Jeff? It's phenomenal.
I love it.
It's just phenomenal.
In Chicago.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah. I mean, there's so many great museums in New York.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great place to go.
The biggest museum in the world, I think, is here. The museum on Fifth
I think
Avenue.
they call it Connecticut, don't they?
The Met, the Metropolitan Museum.
Is it the Met?
It's the Met.
It's the Met.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love
It's
it.
huge, because what it is, it's not one building, it's two buildings.
It's bigger than the Louvre.
I believe so. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. And it also is the only building in Central Park. Central Park wasn't supposed to have any buildings, and they decided they would build this building in Central Park.
Yeah.
So it's part of the park, really. Amazing, just amazing.
Pam and Andrew, our son, they went together about a week ago.
I've never been into the Met, and I want to go.
I love it. And he knows a separate way how to get it in from the back. It's very crowded to get in. Okay, and particularly this is time of
well there are certain days of the week too. I mean, I wouldn't do it on a Saturday or a Sunday, but you could probably do it on a Tuesday, and you wouldn't have that much trouble.
It was probably closed during the first part of COVID, and that's why it's now really crowded trying to get in.
Well,
a lot of people are coming to New York
Oh yeah, I wish they
at
would.
this time of year just to see all the bad stuff that they can't find.
Anyway, I'm playing the theme song, the infamous
can't hear.
theme song, which you can't hear. And I finally figured out the reason is very simple. It's that Facebook does not want you to hear, not Facebook, but YouTube. Wait a minute. Zoom doesn't want you to hear it. So.
Because they're afraid of copyright stuff?
Yeah, that's right. So.
Yeah, but if you own the music, why would they stop you?
Well, they just block everything. They don't have to worry about it.
They don't write me a letter saying you don't own this music. Anyway. Hey, listen, it's great having you here, everybody. I appreciate it, I appreciate your participation, making my life easier, because you do a lot of talking. By the way, Brian, you've hardly said anything tonight.
I didn't know it was here.
Yeah.
Why is that? Are you just quiet?
Good dental work.
What?
Dental work.
Dental work. That's
It's not dental work. I'm eating Jelly Bellies. Come on.
That's dental work eventually.
I'll say goodnight.
Yeah. Well, anyway, and first let me say goodnight to Jeff. Thank you, Jeff, for being here. Thank you very much, Charlie. Always a pleasure having you here. Alan, love having you here when you pay attention to the program. Ray, thank you, and I hope your neck is better, Father
Thank you.
Ray.
Thank you.
You do look like a priest.
Yes.
Thank you, Tony. Appreciate it.
okay.
And Kevin, same to you. And it seems like your internet is working fine. You know.
We might get some more.
And of course, Brian, always a pleasure whether you say anything or not. You know. Anyway, everybody give a big wave goodbye, and I'll give a big wave goodbye at you, okay? There they go, ladies and gentlemen. That's our citizen panel for tonight, and they are now leaving us in droves. Amy Manuel is next. Oh, I got to get out of here. Amy Manuel is next. She's here with The Intersection. She'll take your calls at Skype, Gabnet Live. I'll see you again tomorrow night. Same time, same station, and life. In the meantime, as always, if you see her, please tell her I love her, okay? Bye-bye.